So many short videos on Instagram or YouTube focus on the forehand, swing pass, the C shape, the wrist leg during the acceleration phase, how top players do that. But here is the truth. Before you even think about that, you need the fundamentals. Here is a short clip from my last training session with Andriy. He is 7 years old and he's been playing just a little over a year. And if you look closely, you can already see the wrist leg and the butt cup of the racket pointing towards the ball. But here is the thing. I never told him about wrist leg. He doesn't even know that word. Now, here is Kira. She's 9 years old, also playing just over a year. And again, you can see the same thing. The leg, the butt cup pointing to the ball, but just like Andriy, she has no idea what the wrist leg means. I never taught her that term. Of course, I can show you the side view and draw the C shape on the swings, just like you often see in Instagram or YouTube shots. The truth is, they don't know what the C shape is either. I've never explained it to them. The point is, if the fundamentals are correct, these things appear naturally. So, what are those fundamentals I focus on from the very first day? I have my students pick up the racket like this, then I tell them slide the hand down so the heel of the palm hangs slightly off the handle. The racket should sit diagonally in the hand, so there is a space between the index and middle finger. Grip pressure. On a scale from 1 to 10, your grip pressure should be around 3, maybe 2.5. Very relaxed. I tell my student, imagine the racket is a mirror. You hold the racket with your both hands, and if you're right-handed, the left hand is on the throat of the racket, and the mirror is here. You can see reflection, your reflection in the mirror on your starting position. During your first move, unit turn, and power position, the mirror is here. You can see your reflection in the mirror. You release the racket. You can release the racket later like Alcaraz does or earlier, but not sooner than your left hand reaches the height of the shoulder. This mirror example helps my student keep their wrist in a laid back position, and the head of the racket is higher than the handle. I tell them, after releasing the racket, the off arm should be parallel to the baseline or to the net. So, starting position, first move, unit turn, power position.
Давай, первое движение.
Зеркало есть? И теперь на финише зеркало должно быть. Пошла. Зеркало. Молодец.
And from the very first lesson, I make sure there is a space here. Space. The hitting elbow is not tucked in. You need to keep your elbow away from the body. So, imagine you are hugging someone and you need a space here to hug someone. So this space is the fundamental of the forehand. So as soon as they get the correct power position, I toss the ball in a comfortable zone in front of them. They don't even know yet about contact zone, but I toss the ball in front of them and I ask them to hit the ball and get the right finish. When the racket is above the shoulder or somewhere in this area around the shoulder, and the mirror is still here, not like this. Many beginners hit like this with this finish, but not. The mirror is here, and I have my students catch the racket with the off hand. I don't explain in this stage the role of the off arm, but just catching the racket helps them to avoid this thing like when the off arm is hanging like this or moving this direction, like acting like a counterbalance. So power position, hit the ball and get the right finish. Catching the racket with the off hand and the strings are pointing towards you, like this. And from the very first lesson I also teach beginners about weight transfer. When they reach the power position, I tell them to feel their weight on their right leg for the right-handed, and on the finish on the left legs, and weight is on the right legs, left legs. By the way, in the video you saw at the beginning, we are still working with key around this element. I asked her to pay attention to her finish, to feel that she ends the stroke on her left leg balanced, comfortable and stable. I start with the open or semi-open stance, and later I teach weight transfer on the closed stance. Weight transfer is important. It's the fundamental of the forehand. Of course, there are many more things you need to a solid forehand. The rhythm, you need to make your first move on time. Don't rush into your backswing. Learn how to hold the racket long in this position before you start your acceleration. You need to learn how to meet the ball in front of you. But you need to start with the fundamentals I showed you today and make sure all of them are in place, because your swing pads, the wrist flag, the C shape and other things, what happens during the acceleration phase, will depend on these fundamentals. You can do it,